I don't know who should do the intro. I actually just hit the recording button. What do
All
you
right,
think?
sure. Hey guys, welcome to Cool's channel. Today Cole and I are here at the Evyx Free Company house, chilling, having
Outside,
some tea outside, enjoying the beautiful day.
we're enjoying this Earl Grey tea, and we have the
This beautiful
tongs.
Earl Grey tea, and hanging out with the otter that you can see here.
The otter
Hello,
otters. The
otter.
otter otters. The otter otters. So I guess
Super
you did the intro.
Anyhow, so
Oh
today
no.
Cole and I were just talking about healers, and we were wanting to talk about, is healing fun in this game? That's the question we want to ask. Lots of people have been asking us this, and this is what we're going to talk about.
And like
Uh,
I've actually been asked this a lot because like heck, when I like started the channel, like I was talking about like scholars and like how like their kit changed. Like this was eons ago in a video that has been like buried in my channel. But I was like the Shadowbringers expansion brought a lot of changes for scholars. Some very good, others like the DPS kit very bad, and I've been a critic. Um, One thing I should say, and name it is no doubt going to agree with me, is like fun. Fun is subjective. Like when we're doing this video right now, that was one of the harder things to think about. Is how do you even approach a video like this? Like, dude, how do you think? Like, what is fun? Like, how? Like, I can't quantify it. You, like, I can say what I think, but
it's the feeling. It's different for everyone. I mean, it's what
mhm,
it depends on what you enjoy. I personally think healing is fun, but I also main a healer,
mhm,
which would mean that I have a certain bias. I imagine that people that main tanks and DPS likely don't think healing is fun,
mhm.
which is why they don't play it.
Exactly, and I think more than that, it's like you main healing because you like it, and it might just be like something draws you to that. Like I don't know, maybe even just fast queues. I don't know.
I do
See,
like fast queues.
I do too. I think you'll be hard pressed to find many people that don't like it. I mean, maybe some people are like, oh, I like doing the laundry as like I wait. I am not one of those people.
Oh no, exactly.
But my God, on podcast. Is it like our third this one? It's been so many podcasts right now.
It
Three,
has.
so many.
It has. It's been fun. It's been a journey. We're still learning a lot. So I mean, if anybody has any suggestions on how we can do it better, or things that you'd like to
Mhm.
see included, yeah, please leave them down there for Cole and I.
Yeah, absolutely. We are actually reading the comments, and one thing is like this podcast, more than just being like our podcast, we want it to be like a community podcast because one thing I can say is that the Final Fantasy XIV community, and I mean it when I say it, because me and Namit have both been playing MMOs for and like on different online games for literally like years and years at this point. Like I love this community so much, and so like, please let us know how we can improve it, what style changes you'd like to really make it better. I think that like at least for me, it's like I didn't get into this just for like the money or whatever. Like I got into it for the community. Like even you, like you're not getting money for this. Like this is literally just for fun. Like this is yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But gaming hobby here, so
Hmm. And my God,
very friendly.
actually that is gonna lead well into like this. So like one thing that we're gonna do with the podcast is we're trying to not make it so that what do you call it? That it's like so structured that it's like you lose the humanity of it, like because I think that that's so boring. Like me and Name It have done a few different takes of podcasts that are never going to see the light of day that were super structured, but one thing we were told was a little bit of structure and agenda is important. And so we are actually I'm just going to lay out the video topics right here, which the first one is going to be intro and agenda. And the second one, how to say it? Actually, I'm just going to go all through the list. So, first thing is intro and agenda. Second one is are the healers DPS toolkits fun and just primer through them. Then the healing toolkits, are they fun? Just the differences between them. We're going to talk about World of Warcraft experience with healers that's just very familiar to a lot of people and like what our experiences have been with them and what we want for healers in Final Fantasy XIV, ideally in Endwalker expansion. And then kind of just concluding thoughts. So that's kind of the list of topics for the agenda, and likewise timestamps are going to be in the description. So Yeah. What?
All
So
right.
you want to lead us into healers DPS toolkits, or should I? Actually, let me, because I have played Scholar for so freaking
Sure.
long, and I think that this might be the easiest one.
Let's walk
And
over to the dummy here.
exactly, but uh, one thing I want to say is this is not an ultimate guide. If you're looking for an ultimate healing guide that goes into all the nuances of the skills, or like what is the difference between like an on global cooldown or an off global cooldown, what is weaving, what do you mean that you can weave into abilities with like Ruin 2, those details are different videos. And I'm also going to be doing ultimate guides videos as soon as I release my website. The aim for that website is later this month, and so likewise, is this an ultimate guide? No. But like later you're gonna get Scholar, Astrologian, White Mage ultimate guides. You're gonna get Paladin ultimate guide. That was one of my most requested because I did them for the other tanks but not Paladin. You're gonna be getting them for Bard, Machinist, Dancer, like all off the bat, just very quickly. But more on that later, but this is not an ultimate guide, so you're going to notice we are going to burn through these skills very quick because a lot of people know it and a lot of people just want it for the opinion. But we're just going to do a primer because I do know that some players come from different games, like World of Warcraft, for instance, who might have quit. That would include like Name It and me. It's been a long time since we've really played WoW. It's been what, a few months now, something like that.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
So I'm actually just gonna whip through the skills. So likewise, if I lose you, I'm sorry, but like I know that this is gonna be really boring, and we've tried to like talk about healers, but it's taken like literally like 40 minutes per. So all healers, actually, you're on White Mage, right? Oh no, you're on Scholar. Okay,
No, I
so
swapped over to Scholar.
shoot. Okay, but it works all the same. So all healers get a basic spammable. On Scholar, it's Broil. On White Mage, it's Glare. On Astrologian, it's Malefic. And we're going to show you all these skills, but it's just a basic spammable. And all healers get it. And it's basically going to make up like 90% plus of your casts, even on White Mage, even on Ast. Would you agree with that? Like 90% plus? Like, it is so many of your DPS.
Yeah, we cast it all day.
casts. Yeah.
So Scholar's Broil, Pass is Malefic, and then White Mage's Glare, just all day.
And it's basically a lot of this. And immediately people are going to be like, you're going to complain that that's boring. And if you guess that, you're right.
Because it is boring.
But there are certain classes that we're going to talk about very shortly that are different. So the second thing all healers have is a damage over time effect. For Scholar, it is Biolysis. For every single healer, it is a damage over time effect that lasts 30 seconds, and so you basically reapply it once every 30 seconds. So basically you hit Biolysis, and then you spam broil, and then once every 30 seconds, reapply it. And so all healers get that dot. Art of War is a spammed AoE. Oh yeah, and for Ast, what's Ast's dot? That's Comboost. So Boost is Ast's dot, Dia is White Mage's dot, and Biolysis for Scholar. I'll showcase those when I swap off in the house. So all healers get a spammable AoE. For Scholar, it's Art of War. For White Mage, it's Holy. For Astrologian, it is Gravity. And all healers get these components to their kit. And so where things start to get a little bit different is just in some of the finer details, but all healers get that. So now what I want to go and do and talk about is Scholar's variations. So Broil is, unfortunately, it takes the full GCD to cast. And while that's basically standard. Actually, I was gonna be like, while that could be a negative, it's just the standard. But what if you want to do something like you want to weave in Chain Stratagem? Then instantly you're gonna do Ruin 2. And then that allows you to weave in 2 actions. But essentially, Ruin 2 and Broil are basically the same thing. It's just like, are you spamming Broil or Ruin 2? That is literally the complexity of it. And so likewise, our last ability for DPSing on Scholar is Energy Drain. It's an off-global cooldown ability, and it does very little damage. And when I say very little, I mean it was like recently nerfed. It had its potency put into Broil, which overall helped the Scholar, but it made it so that you can't do like openers like Dissipation and Energy Drain openers, like which used to be very, very, very in vogue before in the past. And that's basically the Scholar's damage toolkit. Sorry, I know that that is fast for a lot of you. I apologize, but it it's best to not make this an ultimate healer guide. Actually, I'm gonna swap to what? White Mage first? Nah, I'll swap
You
to
don't do
Ass
White
first.
Mage? No? Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna do Ass next.
Alright. I'm still leveling this one. Oh well.
Soon. Soon with the pure healer, Beirut healer thing. That's gonna be so cool, actually. He's gonna be like the pure healer, and I'm gonna be like the berry healer, like Sage saw. So, when I'm playing Ast, Malefic is the spam build, as I said before. But one thing you're gonna notice is like its cast time is slightly shorter than the global cooldown, allowing me to weave in cards. And so the core mechanic of Ast that makes it completely unique is that you can use cards. And so Malefic, is it still the spammed ability as much as Broil? 100%. In fact, maybe even more so, because you can weave and you can do slide casting with it. It is overall extremely good. Like, you can be extremely mobile with Malefic. It's extremely powerful. It is such a simple change, but it makes Ast very different than them. Because it's like the ability to like swap cards and do all this is actually, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty unique. It honestly makes the Ast very busy. I mean, it's sorry?
Look at all that slide casting.
Oh, it's huge. Oh, I just interrupted myself because I went too soon. But yeah, slide casting plus the GCD, it's like, you can be extremely mobile. I mean, you can do light speed. I know I'm beating a dead horse, but like, not an ultimate guide, but like, Ast has options. And so, they have their damage over time effect that can boost. You apply it once every 30 seconds. And that is really it for the DPS toolkit, aside from special abilities. So I just placed down an Earthly Star, and it starts in this basic form, and then you wait 10 seconds, then it becomes an extremely big Earthly Dominance, and then you pop it. Big damage in an AoE, big healing in an AoE. It is a very incredibly powerful healing cooldown if you use it properly. And really, that is the Ast toolkit. When push comes to shove, though, just to make it clear, the cards, that card system, is what makes it more powerful. I almost want to wait 15 seconds just to show you divination. But, like, the core thing is, like, you're shuffling cards into your deck. You are drawing cards. You are popping divination to buff your entire team. You're making sure these 3 symbols are different. As you are spamming Malefic.
There you go. That's divination.
Yeah, and they don't stack. That'd be so cool if they did, but that'd probably have some weird interaction where people were very upset about it.
Oh yeah, we should probably mention, with Combust, your damage is not front-loaded, so there's no point to like cast
no,
spam
White Mage is the exception.
With White Mage.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But you see, White Mage is the exception. I was gonna get to that, but yeah, damage over time effects like Combust as well as Biolysis, by far, they are not worth spamming that much. It's like, if you have absolutely no other option, you can, but again, it's not, there's no front potency. Like, using it immediately it's literally just a damage over time effect. There's no front loaded anything. But White Mage is going to be the exception, as we're going to get to for a sec. But Ast's main thing is that you're doing the cards at the same time. And then to our last healer, which is the White Mage. Likewise, people are going to be like, what about Sage? That's going to be Endwalker class. We actually don't have its skills yet. So let's just go through the White Mage skills. So Glare is our single target. Oh yeah, Ast had the ability Gravity. It's basically just a spammable AoE, just as you'd imagine. It has no special effects. But Glare is the single target ability for the White Mage. Dia is the damage over time effect, and as name it indicated earlier, there is potency front loaded to it, so if you need to weave, it is viable on White Mage. They get Presence of Mind that lets them cast faster. It's a good DPS cooldown for when you are in a raid situation with all the raid cooldowns, so we're talking Summoner's Devotion, we're talking Bad Litany from Dragoon, we are talking about Technical Step from Dancer. All of those raid buffs are going to stack multiplicatively, and so it makes it really good. I do see sometimes white mages sit on it. I personally don't. I think that it's definitely a decision that you and your raid group needs to make if you want to just cast faster glares or not. We're not going to be able to go back into the house, are we? But basically,
shutting that off for maintenance, yeah.
Yeah. Whoops. This is how live and raw the podcasts we're doing. God, that's one thing that I want to do. Is it's just like the podcast. I want to be able to like go in real life and literally just order pizza and like sit down with you. Oh my god. Soon. Soon. The vaccines just need to get out soon.
Absolutely.
But just continuing on, as I said, like Dia is when you want to leave. Otherwise, you're literally blaring. That was a horrible weave on that part. Double weave. But yeah, what else can I leave?
That's we can go over this. White mage also has ass size, right? So you can pop that for your AoE damage.
Yes, ass size is huge AoE damage and huge AoE healing. And it's castable while moving. It is extremely strong. It's like a more convenient earthy star. It's extremely strong, extremely so. What else did I want to get into? Oh yeah, holy. Actually, I'll just let you talk about White Mage. You have way more experience than me right now. This expansion with White Mage.
Yeah. So I mean, we've covered everything. So
no.
Yeah, we did. We just haven't gone over holy.
No, so we haven't gone over my favorite.
The blood lilies. The blood lilies. Yeah. So holy is excellent in AoE situations. It will stun all the mobs. It's very strong in dungeon. If Cole was the tank, you just go up to him. You spam this, and usually that'll stun everything enough that you won't even really have to heal much other than putting a regen on the tank. It's great.
It's ridiculous.
Other than that, the other thing we really like about Right Mage is the fact that when you use 3... Right.
Hey guys, sorry about that. I actually disconnected because I am terrified. I guess the game was just like, no. But yeah, we were just about to get into the Lily system.
Yeah, we're just going over that. So basically, one thing that is amazing about White Mage is the fact that you have your Lily gauge. Now, every 30 seconds, you will get a blue Lily. This will allow you to cast a healing spell that's instant cast, such as a Flatus Rapture, which is basically like an AoE healing spell for the group, or a Flatus Solace, which is a single target spell. And when you cast 3 of those spells, or use 3 lilies, you will get what's called a Blood Lily, which allows you to use a Flatus Misery, which is a very strong 900 potency attack. So you can see this here. So that just did 74k damage, not a crit, but when it crits, it's often about 125, 130,000 damage.
Crit direct hits insane.
It's huge.
And it's AoE.
And it's AoE.
Which is bizarre.
Like, you just get this as a function of healing, which you're going to do anyways. So it's great. I love it. I just go heal my group, and next thing you know, I'll get a blood lily, and I can go and nuke something.
Which I think is so good. And that's one thing that I have to do is immediately commend this design. Actually, maybe I should talk more on that later. I'm just waiting for my lily gauge to fill. Because let me say the scenario. And note, I'm not healing this raid tier, so I might be overstepping, which I'm not trying to. But during E11S, I am very confident or I'm pretty sure, in my humble opinion, that E11S, during its cycles phase, it can go Holy, or Fire Element, or Electric. Holy and Fire I find so much more manageable, but Electric Element that forces your entire team to spread I find very difficult because it deals incredibly painful damage, but at the same time you have your damage over time effect ticking on the entire party. And so in scenarios like that, you need to not only be handling mechanics, but also dumping out heals. So maybe pre-casting Medica, using Plenary Indulgence, and then popping these lilies 1, 2, 3, ass size. That's healing that you had to do anyhow. And so immediately it's just you get rewarded with this Blood Lily and then just go boof. And so I think that cohesion and that design is so incredibly powerful. At least that's my opinion. Would you agree with that? Because to me, that design, it's just it's rewarding you for doing things you're going to do anyhow. Oh yeah, Lily's also, look at my MP gauge here. AoE heal, boom. That costs no MP, isn't cast, You can do it while moving, you can do it while weaving, even. You can use it to weave. It is extremely powerful.
Exactly, check it out. Rapture, rapture, rapture. Oh, now I have a blood lily. There you go, boom.
And like the
78
alternative is Medica. I mean, I don't really play White Mage and never really did. Like, I've played White Mage. Oh my god.
Well, Medica's a pain, honestly, because you have to you have to sit there and cast it.
But I can't tell
Quite
you how many
often
times
you
I had to use Swift Cast Medica like I just did. Like, and me saying I didn't play White Mage. I mean, I've played White Mage probably hundreds of hours, literally, but I still don't feel confident enough in it to like say like I know it super well. But I remember in the past, like I'd have to like Swift Cast like Medica or Medica 2, Swift Cast Medica 2 in like a pinch, and so like this Lily system, especially when you combine it with Plenary Indulgence, is so much healing. And then I am so impressed with the design of this. I genuinely am. Like, it sounds like I'm fangirling, but you know what? I am, but it's deserved. I will praise good design like that every single day, because it's like...
we should be going in the house. Oh, well.
Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. No, no, no.
Careful,
Okay,
careful.
I got that. Shoot. Shoot, shoot, shoot. Shoot, shoot, shoot. I hope that doesn't mess up the podcast. But now I'm back on Scholar, he's back on White Mage. So overall, I mean, I'm gonna give my thoughts on Scholar because they're already on the channel, and it's been something that I have been very passionate about. I think that in terms of the DPS toolkit, oh yeah, people say change strategy is a part of it. It's a throw and forget ability. I don't consider it. It's not the same as Acid Cars. It is really not. It doesn't have the same level of gameplay. But Scholar in Aroma Reborn used to manage 7 dots. I have a channel, a video. I have a video on my channel detailing how it was different, but it was like managing 7 different damage over time effects. Bio 2, Miasma, the other Miasma, then you had like Thunder, Arrow, then you had Shadow Flare. It was so involved. And then you would fill in the gap with like Ruin. It was more like an Affliction Warlock than it was like what it is today. And it was always that White Mage actually was like, it had like an arrow, then it had an AoE arrow version, and then it had like its stone that it would spam. And that's always how it was, which made more sense because like White Mage's roots from like 1.0 days was like Conjurer, which was a very front-loaded like class. In fact, it really kind of split off into separate Black Mage and White Mage. And Thaumaturge was more of a like debuffer, debilitators. It was a very different class than what we know it to be today. But Scholar always had more to it than this. It's just like, even with all this weaving, it's just like, it never was this. I don't want to say basic, but yeah, I'll say it basic. So actually, I shouldn't be. Should I? I mean, even though it's like our podcast and we're doing it, it's like I'm still feeling like I am being very meek around the topic. Okay, I'm gonna be very blunt. I hate this. I really do not like it. Well, maybe hate's too strong. I can say I firmly dislike it. Because it's like... Hey guys, and welcome back. I am so sorry about the crash. As you can tell, this is a very raw, very, me podcast. Very derpy. Should we rename this to, like, a cursed podcast or the derpy podcast?
Honestly,
oh, no.
crash again, we might have to.
No. Sorry, I've just crashed multiple times in a row, and he's like done with me. He's just like, no, you're trash.
Not you, your drivers or something are trash right now.
I don't even know what's up. I really don't know. I'm trying a few different things. Like I'm trying RTX voice right now, and I'm trying to run this as I'm like recording. I don't know what's up, but let's try and continue. But basically, like I was talking about how I was being very meek, and honestly, I just don't like the current state of Scholar. I don't. It was never like this. This is not why I fell in love with Scholar at first. Like, to me, it's like, I really like the Scholar because it had the different abilities that they could micromanage. It's like, it never was this, I'll say it, like, basic. Like, its DPS rotation was extremely involved. And while I'm gonna say different things for the, like, quote-unquote healing section, it's like, at the same point in time, I'm like, I just... the broil spam is just painful. And it's like, yes, in theory you can use more healing and that, but at the end of the day, your basic filler is your DPS rotation, and the way that like Final Fantasy XIV is structured, which I have no issue with for the record, none at all. It's just you are going to be doing a lot of DPS. Like it's not something that you can really escape or pretend doesn't exist. Like you will be doing DPS in order to play optimally, like in raids. And that's one thing I should say is like, are healers expected to DPS? Not in casual content. I will actually go to bat and like defend healers. Oh god. You came in a chicken suit. God. But I will go to like bat to like defend healers in like casual content and say like, no, of course they don't have to heal. But when it comes to like raiding, like savage raiding, I I like that clown too. When it comes to like savage raiding, it's like, don't tell me like I, honestly, even for my own group, I will expect healers to DPS, which is fortunate because I am a healer and Brent name it is also a healer. And so it's just like we're both the healers and we're both expected to DPS. And I mean, given current FF logs and current data on FF logs, it's like healing DPS is not trivial. It is very important, and especially if you're trying to break enrage timers. I mean, I'd say it's mandatory. I mean, your DPS can be playing as perfectly as they want, but at the end of the day, will they be able to make up like the difference of like 8k heal? Like, I mean DPS from healer. I mean, and 8k DPS as a healer is really not that hard to do, especially if you're like practiced.
It's not, honestly.
It's like you
and
break it all the
yeah.
time.
Like you're saying, so cool. You know, in a lot of those fights, like I'm sure the DPS checks are pretty tight.
Oh my god, absolutely. Like
So
E11.
every little bit helps.
Absolutely. It's severely penalizing. Like it's just like the DPS checks on like the last two Savage fights, especially this tier, are pretty severe. So I would never look a healer in the mouth and say like, don't DPS. Like no, it's for highest level content, it's pretty much expected. Plus like the damage patterns, honestly, a big part about healing is knowing when to use cooldown. It's just like, oh, I just weaved into the Spring Dawn as well as Fey Illumination there. Or how about I just brought in Big Fairy and I clicked my Spring Dawn. I think those. So see, that's another frustration I have with Scholar. That's actually a good thing to demonstrate. I wasn't trying to, but basically it's like cooldown management. Like, oh, I have a second constellation up. Okay, perfect. Or, oh, okay, I can weave in and I can do recitation and then boom. But facts are, with the cooldown management and knowing who's going to handle what mechanic, or I can be like, name it, Plenary Indulgence, and then use a Flatus Rapture twice, and that'll heal off the damage.
There you go.
Twice.
You have a big healing chicken. Twice.
Exactly.
Now I have misery. Boom.
Ooh.
Damage.
But you see how, like, we manage that, and that's like what you need to be able to do during a raid, or be like, oh, we just need a Sacred Soil. The rest of it is really the DPS rotation, and being a really confident end game healer requires you to have that level of communication fluidity. That's why I literally am taking my boyfriend as my co-healer. It's just like, I can be like, trash please.
Please,
like
I'm strong, independent chicken.
I'm strong, independent chicken, and I don't need your skull.
Exactly.
But my fairy
Don't
heals
need
are
you to
so
broil me.
broiled chicken. Chop wood. I'm not on my machinist, else I would burn you with like the flamethrower, but alas. But yeah, Scholars. Okay, I'm gonna try like speed it up a bit. Scholar, no, DPS rotation, in my opinion, the worst. I'm not even trying to. I'm not even gonna try and line it up. It is the worst in my opinion. Whereas, let me swap to Ast. Okay. Whereas with Ast, okay, Ast, on the other hand, I'd say is the most engaging healer. And then people are going to be like, okay, what do you mean by like that? That's so confusing. And so what I mean is, it's just like you are spamming Malefic. Absolutely. Is it the same principle? Absolutely. But it is a constant thing. And you can actively weep at the same time. As well as the Ast has the entire card system where it's like your Juggler. As well as you're able to like just weave in like your Hots and just like other burst effects. Like Ast, in my opinion, is probably the best healing in terms of quote-unquote DPS rotation. unlike Chain Stratagem, which is just a throwaway and forget, like, you're seeing how active this card system is, like, and how I need to, like, actively manage, like, get 3 different things. And then there's 3 different symbols, and then pop the AoE. Like, to me, this is infinitely different. What an AoE heal. AoE heal. Let's say he needs shield. Well, let's say that we need, like, neutral sect, and then I weave in this, and then bang. Like, that is fundamentally so much different spamming coil, and I peace and love. I comparing it to Scholar is like almost painful because it's so different. Like, I don't know, because you haven't played much Ast, so it's not fair to say, but, like, what are your thoughts on that kind of, like, those are mine at least, but what are your preliminary thoughts? Because you have played both, like, you have Scholar at 80, but you haven't played as much Ast, but in my opinion, it's just such a stark difference. Oh my god, the
I don't know. I
bro.
do kind of want to level my Scholar, my Ast up, because
Pure healer.
I do think it is kind of cool just to have the ability, you know, to throw out cards and buff someone else. That is kind of neat.
And it's so loved.
Mechanic.
That's one of the ways to be, like, one of the favorite members of the party is to literally be throwing out those card buffs. You will become very popular very fast. Because people at the end of the day like seeing their numbers be big. I mean, people, it might sound trivial, it might sound trite, it might sound fickle, but people love that. You'll become a friend very quick. Now what was I gonna say? Broiled chicken. You are literally the holy chicken right now.
I am
the holy rooster, the holy word that I cannot say on my channel.
Cock-a-doodle do.
Yes. But what I'm gonna say is, like, Glare and Dia. So, fundamentally, is White Mage that different than Scholar? It's like you're spamming Glare. You're refreshing your dog. If you need to weave, you use Dia, and then you can... Is it like... I'm not as familiar with it right now, but, like, you can do that. That's absolutely a thing. But Scholar, like, they had the energy drain thing. Why I didn't even go into it, like, before was it's just, like, it is so weak right now. It's like, you... Goodness, and I DC'd again. Sorry, everyone. I'm gonna try and edit that out as much as I can. But, yeah, basically, White Mage is fundamentally different. It's like, it has this DPS cooldown, which fundamentally already makes it much, much, much different. And then people can be like, oh, you can use Dissipation and Energy Drain. Honestly, with the Energy Drain nerfs, it's to the point where it's like, even that fancy opener, it's like, you really gotta question, like, if it's even worth it these days. Because at least for me, I'd rather an Excog or a Lustrate. Like, that will go further than 10 potency. And that's about the difference because, what is it? Rune 2 is like, what is it? No, it's like 200 potency and then energy. It's just not as significant to me. Now that's gonna bug me because I'm pretty sure Ruin 2 was 190 potency. I wanna see because I feel like I'm going crazy here. Just trying to change over. No. Oh my god. No, it's 200 potency and then energy drain was 100. Okay, so it's gonna add up to a total of 300 potencies. So I mean, broil was 290, so that's where you get the loss. So I just want to double check that. I'm just like, I know I lose 10 potency from using broil, but it's like, where? Sorry. But basically, immediately, White Mage is different. And not to mention Asides, or the Lily system, like the Flatus Misery. To me, the White Mage may not be that much more advanced, but I think like just the Lily system on its own, and then like the Afflatus Misery, do you have it ready to poof?
Yeah, just one more healing spell, and then it's good to go. There we go. Boom. Yeah. And that was 140,000 damage.
Direct hit, crit, boom. But yeah, like, man, what are your thoughts on, like, White Mage? I want you to talk more.
Well, obviously it's my main, so I love it. I have a lot of fun playing it. I think it has a ton of healing output. I've never had any problems, you know, getting a group up, you know, in an extreme trial or really any of the content I've done. I like the fact that I can kind of just heal and then, you know, just by doing what I'm doing anyways, end up with a strong DPS cooldown, so Afflatus Misery popping.
Hmm.
I like it. I like where it's at. I think it's an engaging class. And after discussing this with you, like it may not be as complex as Astrologian gameplay wise, but I have fun with it and I enjoy it.
Yeah,
And I
and
like,
that's the
oh,
main thing.
come on, look at this animation. I can go into Limbs of Lamensa. I can be a giant chicken. I can blind everyone. What's not to love?
The holy chicken.
Yes.
The holy cockadoodle-doo.
I have to
Good
be careful.
lord.
They might come try to catch me to steal my golden eggs.
Oh my god. Exactly, but you're not a goose. Or was it a goose? Dude, I actually don't know.
It was a goose, yeah. I think this is more like a rooster.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
This is why I love 14. In World of Warcraft, you literally cannot like go into like an end game raid as like a giant chicken man. It doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't.
I
It is
guess you can
so
be a
funny.
boomkin. That's almost there,
Yeah,
but
but that's a
it's not as
specific
fun.
class.
Yeah,
It's,
exactly.
which they're nerfing. It's just like, I am so glad I'm not playing that. But
Yeah.
anyhow, White Mage, I mean, honestly, like I think that it has always been very streamlined, very streamlined. Like it's just like, okay, we're doing glare spam, you were doing stone spam, we're doing dia spam, you were doing arrow, you are arrow dot upkeep. It's like you always had presence of mind. That has always been a staple. It's just now we're using it, or many white mages, including myself, are using it as a DPS cooldown. I mean, that has always been like in the thing. Assize has been in the game for many years now. I can't even think off the top of my head how many, but like 4 or 5, something like that, years. It's been a skill I like. I love it. It's super powerful, and I feel like, especially with the Lily system, it's just like big A. Okay, hey everyone, we are back. I actually am gonna try turning off RTX voice. I am not sure why I am crashing so much. Again, like we're what, on our like third podcast now. Like we're still so new. We're just trying different things. I might need a new GPU. That's super stressful. But yeah. So let's just keep going. I think like White Mage, I was talking about that and how it was just like always like very front loaded. Like even to its roots of its conjure, it was very front loaded. Um, I was actually about to use Plenary Indulgence and then like the 3 lilies and then the Flatus. Like that design decision is so good, but fundamentally, I still think that it is probably, in my opinion, its DPS kit is much less intriguing than Ast. Like with Ast, I feel engaged, and you just saw him use that, and that's from healing you do anyhow. And so I find that super rewarding. I'm gonna try and keep my clicks down to a minimum because I know I don't have noise cancel, but now let's kind of get into the healing kits. Just very lightly. I mean, very lightly. White Mage's healing kit, I like sometimes because it's very straightforward. It's very reactive healing. And one thing is, I know that a lot of people are going to be like, okay, healing should not be reactive. Like, if you see a cast bar coming down, like, let me focus target this dude. So this striking dummy will have like a bar appear here from side to side, and it's just like, that is an indicator that like, hey, you should be pre-casting Medica 2. Like, it's like, you should be ready. And like, as soon as the damage comes out, you should ideally line it up. Or like, if damage is coming out, you prepare with that, or Divine Benison for a shield. Again, I don't think that this shield is going to make it into next expansion with White Mage being more of a pure healer. Or you're using Temperance, because Temperance has a damage mitigation baked into it, as well as healing potency increase, so it's really good if like things are going absolutely crazy. But I mean, ultimately, I mean, even Plenary Indulgence with this, like, this is fundamentally very powerful reactive healing, and I think it is extremely strong. And so, beyond, like, the DPS kit, I think, like, the White Mage just brings brutal amounts of throughput healing. Not to mention, like, Cure 3. And I mean, a lot of people will say, like, this is, like, me overemphasizing Cure 3, but, like, to me, it's just, like, if you're dealing with a party stacked mechanic, you might only need 1 Cure 3. And the other healer can like focus on DPSing. I'm trying to like see its range. You just stand there. Oh my god, I ran out of healing. Let me see if it can even hit you here. You're hitting bad buttons. So I can hit you from there. Can I hit you from here? No. So the range is about here to here. Oh no, no, a little closer. There, I can hit him. So it's like super small range, but it is super incredibly powerful. It's just like if you get like a stack mechanic with the party, like holy crap, like it's like big burst AoE. It's much better than like Medica, which Medica's at 300. I mean, it's like 2 Medicas worth of healing just in a single GCD. It is very expensive in mana, like you could say I ran but I think like that's my take on the White Mage. What's yours?
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. It is very reactive because you do have those instant cast healers, which is great. Like I can just keep DPSing, big damage can come out, and then immediately, as soon as it comes out, I can just pop a flat of rapture with plenary indulgence on, and that's going to do huge potency. A couple of those will get an entire group up.
Oh, it's ridiculous amounts of healing. It's nauseating.
Then you have Assay's. Then for the tank, you have your instant cast Tetragrammaton,
And not to mention Benediction. Holy crap.
Oh yeah, Benediction's amazing.
It's like if you're with a warrior, a gunbreaker, or a dark knight that pops their mitigation actually goes to 0, it's like no healer can handle that as well as White Mage. None. Not even Ast. Like people can be like, oh, Ast can use like 2 of their instant off GCD single target heals, and it's like, yes, you can. Absolutely. Essential Dignity is good, but not that good. Like it's like.
I mean, nothing's as good as Benediction. It's basically
so
like this game's version of Lay on Hands. It's 100% heal.
It's bizarrely strong. Yeah.
Boom.
So, any more on the White Mage toolkit, or do you think we're ready to Scholar?
Yeah, I think we can go to Scholar, which is your specialty.
So Scholar's DPS kit, it's very capable. Like, I don't like how it functions, but it is obviously capable. It's just very loaded into broil. But what I will say the Scholar does insanely well is barriers and healing. And people are going to be like, what do you mean and healing? You come here, nasty chicken. So we have this where it's just like I can add low myself, and then I can deployment tactics. And look at the orange bars, like it's so big. I also got a catalyze on myself, so that's why it's even bigger. And so then I stack it with Fairy Shield. This is insanely powerful mitigation. Like that is damage that will be instantly nullified. Or what if I like use this? Seraphic Illumination, reduction, Sacred Soil, reduction. I'm thinking how to even say it. Like the ability to mitigate and prevent damage from even existing is huge. Or like let's say that we're in a tank buster, an unrealistic tank buster. Then we can force Galvanize Catalyze using Recitation on them. And like look at how much that is. Like that is like a ridiculous shield. Like you do not normally need that much shielding. And all of this is like prevention. Like Sacred Soil, like that's instantly 10% damage reduction. Like that's stupid. Like it's so strong at that. But Scholar isn't just that. It is like you are also getting the fairy healing at the same time. So one thing, what I will say, how to say it, while I am not a fan of the Scholar Toolkit in its current form, the ability to do things and like weave in these 2 fairy abilities. And so I just use Whispering Dawn and Fey Blessing. And then have the fairy do that as you're like focusing on other things. Do you take a potency hit? Absolutely. I mean, you don't take so much of a potency hit if you did something like, let's say that we did like Rune 2, Chain Stratagem, Energy Drain. Okay, you gained 10 potency technically over just broiling. But mind you used an energy flow on an aether flow on an energy drain. So I mean that is a thing. But one thing is like Scholar is very reactive. It's like you need to pre-plan your like healing. Oh yeah. One thing also why I find it a strong healer is it's just like emergency tactics turns your shield into healing. Extremely powerful. And then Recitation with Indom. This is probably one of the best emergency AoE heals you can have. That is a crit AoE heal. And it guarantees a crit on 400 potency AoE. It is better than a Cure 3. But the problem is it's cooldown dependent. It's just like a 90-second Recitation, minute and a half, and then a 30-second Indom. But 30-second windows being hit by Indom is super good. Not to mention Lustrate. Lustrate has always been good. It has always been a very powerful mobile heal, where it's just like boom, boom, boom. Not to mention Whispering Dawn and Fey Illumination in and of themselves are powerful healing cooldowns. Fey Illumination only increases the healing done, but Fey Blessing and Whispering Dawn are powerful AoE heals. Very powerful. Although a lot of the time when your co-healer doesn't trust your Whispering Dawn, they will overheal and not let the Whispering Dawn do its full work. But Whispering Dawn, it's powerful. It's definitely powerful. Or like single target healing, emergency tactics, add low. Oof. That's a good heal.
You're good at Scholar, okay? It gets boring pressing Glare for an entire fight.
I know. I'm
Sometimes I want
sorry.
to use heal, okay?
Another thing, just because like I want to get the healing toolkit done, is like this Seraph. You're gonna notice a heal, so that was like 10k healing, and then there's a shield on top of it. And if Name It was taking damage, she would use Seraphic Embrace, which would basically like be a shield and heal, or Seraphic Veil, or is it Seraphic Embrace? Is an effect called Seraphic Embrace or Seraphic Veil? No. Good. And you can use Constellation twice in her duration. But another thing is the healing cooldown to focus a tank in Aether Pact or Fey Union. Same thing. They have multiple different names. It's like the fairy skill is what? Fey Pact? Something. Where on earth did that go? Aether Pact. Same thing. I see, over the years when you play something so long, the names just become whatever. But point is, like, he's getting funneled with a ton of healing. Like, that was just 23k heal just there. And so, like, that's good. It's just like, how much am I healing with, like, Physic? Oh, well, the crit doesn't count. So, like, it's actually healing slightly over Physic, just a fairy. Not to mention Excog. That's pure healing. And so when people talk to me about Scholar being a quote-unquote pure heal, a barrier healer, I'm like, no. This expansion, no. I mean, in the past, but I will not dwell too much on the past, but Medica 2 always was how you got up to party. You didn't have things like this. You didn't have things like Recitation, Indom, and then Emergency Tactics, Succor. Whispering Dawn, you always had Whispering Dawn. And you always had Fey Illumination. You used to have Fey Covenant. It always was the thing. Not to mention Sacred Soil. Oh my god, Sacred Soil is probably the most powerful cooldown in game with this low cooldown. It reduces damage taken by 10%, but it's also giving a ticking heal over time effect onto you. Medica 2 is also on. I'm just clicking that off. Whispering Dawn was also. It's just like, it is healing you in the dome as well. Oh my god, it just went off. But basically it is also healing at the same time as mitigation, and so I'm gonna try and get it out here. And it's like such a powerful cooldown. Actually, Dissipation is another powerful cooldown. So Dissipation increases your on global cooldown healing sadly by 20%, but it dispels your fairy, so that's good if you've used all your fairy abilities and you're down and out. It resets your Aether Flow. But again, look at all that AoE healing just from Sacred Soil. And it's all AoE passive healing. And again, it's very active. So it's just like, when people are just like, Scholar doesn't have a strong healing toolkit, I will very much disagree with you. It's very reactive. But if you're using things properly, like you're using the Indom properly, you're using the Sacred Soil properly, you're using the Seraph Fairy properly, it is, in my opinion, one of the strongest healers. But the thing is, when it runs out of gas, when you run out of your options, like, you really run out of options. Like, it is brutal. It's just like, what, you can use Dissipation. Okay, what after that? And Dissipation in and of itself it's solid, it's good, but it isn't good enough to make up for the fact, like, let's say like all my fairy gauge is spent. Let's say that I have no Aether Flow stacks. So let's say that I have no fairy abilities, like let's pop Fey Blessing. This will be a little delayed, and now all of my Aether is gonna be like gone, all my Aether fairy gauge. You have ran out of gas, and now it's like, what now? And that's a hard question to answer. Struggle spamming Succor. Thankfully, Emergency Tactics is only 15 seconds cooldown. It's like, you can do that. But it's like one of those healers where it's like, it is so strong when it's present. It has so much in its emergency handling toolkit. It is impressive. And the only thing it doesn't have is like benediction, but it's like, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that. I don't know what else I want to say on that, but it's like its healing kit feels like the exact opposite of the DPS kit. The Scholar's healing kit feels so good to use. You have an answer for everything until you run out of gas. Then you sputter out, and it's like, I don't even know what to do. Because, like, I want your opinion, like, because you've co-healed with me on Scholar. You've played a little bit of Scholar, like, your Scholar is at 80. Like, what are your thoughts? I feel like I've just talked for like 10 minutes straight.
So honestly, like I prefer white mage. I play that a lot more. But after watching like you heal, like obviously it's very strong. Like I've gone through entire runs of basically emerald weapon and also diamond weapon now, where I essentially don't really even have to cast heals. I put regen on the tanks and cast the occasional Afflatus Rapture or Medica 2 to help out. But I mainly just DPS the entire pull.
Mm-hmm. And
So
see, when I do run out of gas, though, I need you.
you do. You do, but honestly, if you're able to do that and almost solo heal an extreme fight, I think that's strong evidence that.
I mean, people have soloed Savage fights, so I don't want to, like, oversell myself. Like, no, I want to be careful with that, like... But it's just, like, I just want to say, like, the Scholar's healing kit is, like, this is no pushover. Like, if you're using the mitigation and preemptive, like, barriers and mitigation, and then the reactive heals, it's, like... It has an answer for everything.
It certainly does, yeah. No, you do a very good job.
Mm-hmm. So now I guess, like, I unless you had anything else to ask, I'm thinking I'm gonna go to Ast.
Yeah, sure.
So Ast is in a similar, how to say it? It is also a healer that rewards preventative measures, but you can go through Nocturnal Sect, which is like barriers, or you can go Diurnal Sect, which is going to alternatively be more regens. And so you can give him the shield, you can give him the dot. Normally you can't swap between the sects in combat. I just reset the striking dummy aggro. But it gives you those options, and each of those styles is a little bit different. You're either leaning more towards being reactive-ish, more reactive, or more, like, preventative, and, like, yeah. I'm thinking how to even continue explaining it. I think that is good enough in and of itself. As I said, like, I'm not going to make this an ultimate guide, like, that. I am going to struggle to not do that, but, yeah. So... talking about, like, Ast, I find, compared to the other two, it has fewer reactive options than Scholar. And I know people are not going to be happy because people are going to be like, okay, if you are, like, in Nocturnal Sect, and then you need to get out this barrier, then you need to go at this, then you need to do this, and then you need to do this. Like, first of all, like, Earthly Dominance, I'd consider, like, a preparatory recitation combined with indom. I wouldn't really consider it mitigation. Is it preventative, and, like, before, like, what is the word? It's like you have reactive healing, then you have proactive is what I'm thinking.
Proactive. You have to be proactive.
You need to help me when I'm forgetting these words.
Preemptive
healing, thank you. So it's just like you definitely get aspects of that, and even when you are in urinal stance, you still need to be a little proactive. It's just like I need to be applying Nocturnal Intersection, and that covers him in a barrier. That is very strong. As well as they have a skill, Nutrisect, which allows them to basically do both at once, which is extremely, extremely, extremely strong, because it's just like, what? It's just like, let's do this during E11S, during that lightning cycles phase. It's just like, this is so stupid, the amount of healing you can do. Oh, I should do that too. It's just, like, it is very strong. I definitely, how to say it, I feel that it suffers from much of the same issues as Scholar. It's like, when you have your buttons up, like look at that barrier. And that was in, like, the urinal form. Like, it was so strong, that barrier. It was, like, up to, like, freaking here. It was just ridiculous. But when it comes push down to shove, it's the same thing as Scholar. Earthly Start is a minute cooldown. Horoscope is a minute cooldown. Like, Celestial Intersection is accessible, but even when I'm in Nocturnal stance, let me reset this. Swapping to Nocturnal. If you look at this hot duration, it was only 15 seconds, and it is on a 30-second cooldown timer. So, is it good? It is one of my favorite skills. It is one of my favorite because it's off global cooldown. It is very easy to weave in, almost like the Scholar Fairy. Like, you just throw it on the tank. It's strong. But it's like when you sputter out of cooldowns, it's just like, I find it very much similar to Scholar. I don't find it that you can do as much mitigation though, because when I'm thinking of Scholar, I'm thinking, okay, we have Sacred Soil, we have Fey Illumination, we have the 2 different barrier types from the Constellation from the Fairy. And with the Fairy, you get 2 stacks of Constellation. You get the Fairy constantly spitting out the Seraphic Veils. Like, I feel that it is much more barrier oriented, even when in Nocturnal Sect. It's like fundamentally it has its Adlo equivalent, which honestly is easier to use than Adlo because you need to be familiar with the fight and precast it. As well as Constellation is very clunky. That's one thing I will say is Constellation. Many people new to Scholar will find it frustrating because they'll be like, why on earth, like, am I, how to say it? Why on earth is my Seraph out, and then it takes her like 3 seconds to use Constellation, which I requested it to do ages ago, and so it can be super frustrating. But in general, I want to say though, I feel like Ast also has an answer to almost everything. I think that Ast absolutely does, because it's like, oh, you need raw throughput healing? Okay, you pop these 2 things, then you go just absolutely to town. And not to mention, like, you can set that out, and you can even pop it early if you really need the healing. Like, I feel like Ast does. But it's very similar to Scholar in that when it runs out of gas, it really runs out. It's just like, oh yeah, I haven't even gone Essential Dignities, like... And so that's kind of my opinion of the healing toolkit. I feel like its DPS kit and what it brings in terms of, like, fun and enjoyability is really amplified. But this video's, I think, like, going through this, that we're kind of missing the main point about fun. And to me, I find that, at least for me, actually, I'll let you go first. Do you wanna? On, like, fun of the healers, like...
Yeah, sure. So, like, in terms of, like, healing, when there's a bunch of damage coming out, you know, and I'm, like, fulfilling, you know, the healer role, getting everyone back up, keeping them alive, you know, in, like, sweaty situations, that is fun. That feels rewarding. I really like that, and I think, I play White Mage mainly, but I think all the healers are able to do that, and they all bring a lot to the table. They're all fairly strong. So, honestly, the healers, in my opinion, are fun, and my recommendation would be, like, just play whatever you like and whatever you enjoy most. For me, that's White Mage, and the healing itself is fun. The damage, not so much. Like, sometimes I get bored, actually, because it's just, like, especially if I have a really good co-healer, because it's like, I'm not doing much. I'm just pressing glare.
Yeah, it's glare, and you have complained in the past, and I've noticed you overhealing
and over again. Sorry?
Like, I've noticed, like, especially on Diamond Weapon, I'll be like, I literally have this, and then, like, as, like, I have, like, Whispering Dawn out, gonna heal everyone up to full, like, you'll cast a Medica 2, and you'll be like, I was so bored. Don't play it down for the stream. Here. Don't play it down.
I just glare. Like, look at this.
I know, and that's on White Mage, and that was what I'd call White Mage absolutely more engaging than Scholar's rotation right now. Like, in terms of DPS, absolutely, I would stand by that.
Yeah, so, like, honestly, that's kind of where I'm at. I think the healers are fun, but I think the DPS toolkits could be reworked to make, you know, all of the healers slightly more engaging, so you're pressing more than 2 keys. Because for all of them, it's more or less just, you know, 1 cast ability and a dot.
And I'd agree. It's the DPS kits, I think, really suffer. And it's ironic because when it comes to fun for healers, I'm so torn, because it's just like people will be like, oh, you just, like, dumped on the Scholar's DPS kit, and I absolutely will. Like, I do not like it. But on the other hand, when you're playing Scholar and you need to manage all these different barriers and, like, preemptively heal, and then, like, also do the reactive healing, I adore that. And it's just like the DPS kit really, like, if it still played like an Affliction Warlock like it did back in the day, I'd be in love. because it's just like you need to actively be aware of the fight, because if you're in a cast time and you don't get Adlo off in time, or like look at this delay. So I just summoned Fairy and I just issued a Constellation. Look at how long this takes. If you don't know what's coming, that will kill you if you need the mitigation, which a lot of fights don't. But it's just like, or like wait about these two skills, like you need to get both of these out. Look at this delay, that will kill you. And so for me, a lot of the fun about Scholar just comes with the familiarity with the fights, with the how you can prevent damage, how you can mitigate it, and how you're always planning like one step ahead. So my favorite healer toolkit by a large margin is absolutely Scholar, and then followed up by Nocturnal Ast, because I definitely like playing that. And then not to mention, like, you can also plan like the emergency heals and this and just explode in there. It's just very good to me. I always feel like I have an answer for everything until the party is so far gone that there's not an answer. It's just like, you've noticed it on Diamond Weapon, it's just like if we have two people kill like a third other person, it is very hard for me to recover, because it's just like at that point I've spent all my tools. And I mean, people might be like, okay, just hold on to some for reserve, and I mean, in a casual farm, that's not the point. You're trying to optimize DPS, you're trying to just clear it as quick as you can so that you can get the land waffle mount, which for the record I absolutely freaking love my land waffle. But it's just like, in a farm party, you are trying to get it done as quick as you can. You're not there to smell the roses, it's like you are there to get it done. And so it's like, I'm not gonna sit on 3 stacks of Aether Flow. I'll sit on like 2 or 1 going into that, but you're not gonna see me sit on 3 stacks of Aether Flow in hopes that like the DPS like doesn't mess it up and like I pop lustrate. It's like, I'm gonna use Excog on the tank so I can DPS more. I'm gonna use my cooldowns and really optimize it. And that did, your staff just whacked it, and that was kind of a funny metal noise.
I'm trying to get out of combat, but it's not.
Oh, you just click it and you right click the striking dummies bar and then hit reset striking dummy and MIDI.
Oh, okay, there we go.
So ironically enough, my absolute favorite healing toolkit is Scholar, which is directly opposing that it is my least favorite DPS toolkit by a incredibly large mile. My favorite DPS toolkit by far is Ast. This, I absolutely love this. This is so good. It is just like, I struggle to think of myself enjoying a different healer's DPS kit right now a lot. It's like White Mage, even though I will commend that design decision, it's just like, it just can't compete. Like, the Ast with the cards, it's just like, the cards really mask just how boring spamming Malefic is, because it's just like, you're not actually spamming Malefic, it's just like something that you're just keeping pace on. It's very much, reminds me of like a clock, and I mean, I don't have 3 different symbols here, don't read me for it, but I'm just trying to get divination out. And so it's just like, you're really managing that, and like, you weave in other things, you weave in your precasts, and it has those elements of shielding and barriers and mitigation and pre-planning. And so for me, that's
definitely a cool dynamic too.
The what?
Because we're the only healer that has that, right? They're really the only healer that. I guess Scholar kind of does with chain stratagem.
No, chain stratagem. It's a strong raid cooldown, but it is so boring. It's a fire and forget.
Well, that's what I mean though. Like White Mage doesn't really have like a raid damage buff.
No, and that's why some groups actually don't like White Mage. It's just like, just because it doesn't bring raid DPS contribution. But for me, it's just like, yes, Scholar brings it, but it's like not an active part of their kit. So for me, it's like, if people are just like, do you find chain stratagem exciting and fun? And I'm like, no, I really don't. And I mean, people will be very aggro at me for that, and I'm not trying to make people angry at me, but it's just like, it's a fire and forget. Like, it is not adding anything to my fun. It's not adding anything to my gameplay. And fundamentally, at the end of the day, I'm wanting to play something because I find it fun and engaging. And for me, the Ast card system, it's fun, it's engaging, it's actually something I'm playing with rather than like a fire and forget. It's just like, it's to me kind of like asking, like, is lucid dreaming a fun skill for you to use? It's like,
Not
no.
really. No, it's something
It's
you use once. It just gives you some mana. It's not really.
it's like I use it because it's useful. Yeah, like no one's saying lucid dreaming's a bad skill, but this
No,
is not fun to me. Like lucid
you don't
dreaming
pop
is
that. You're not
yeah.
like, wow, what an amazingly interesting design decision.
Yeah, it's
It's
like
not fun.
it has to be there for MP restoration, and you pop it basically off cooldown. But it's like at the end of the day, it's like I don't know what else to say. Like chain stratagem is not engaging. But
Exactly.
yeah, now my least favorite healer. In terms of the healing kit, I think people will be frustrated with me for this, which I apologize for. It's like, okay, let's go over reactive. What can you do? So you can place down this early. You can pop down temperance. Note that it doesn't do anything early. This isn't giving you mitigation. It's amplifying your healing. You can pop temperance. That's mitigation, and you can apply shield. That's it. So for me, I feel like when I play white mage, I feel like I am forced to be focus targeting something, looking at the cast bar and being like, okay, it's like this way in the cast bar, and then boom. Which does that feel good? Absolutely. It feels good to be able to have. So while Scholar might have a super effective answer to everything, and S has a super effective answer to almost everything, White Mage has an incredibly, massively effective kit at all points of time, like Medica 2, fudging Cure 3, Ass Size, like these are very powerful skills in their own right. I mean, Regen is super strong. Regen is super strong.
Don't even forget benediction. I mean,
No.
you have a
Tetra.
new tank that just randomly pops. Super Blight at the wrong time. Penny.
Yeah, and I mean, to that end, people can be like, oh, okay, you said, like, when Scholar runs out of gas, but you can run out of, like, a size, Tetragrammaton, and then Benediction. But it's not to the same level as Scholar. It's just, like, can you? Absolutely. But one thing is, like, White Mage, or you could say Lilies. It's just, like, you wait for Lilies, and then you pop the Lilies, and then what? And, I mean, to that end, that's true, but at the same point in time, like, Cure 3, Medica 2... it's like these are incredibly deep healing reserves that you have access to at all times. It's like where I might, on a Scholar, be struggling to pick up the HP of a tank or of the party. A White Mage will always, always, always have a strong baseline reactive kit to handle that. Whereas I'm just like, if I'm on Scholar, and let's say that I am actually like solo healing, I might fumble. And I might fumble hard. Let's say that I don't get my mitigation out. So I'm gonna give you like an example of that. Like let's say that I don't have my mitigation out, and let's say that I already used all these skills. So, and let's say that I have no fairy gauge. Let's say that I used Indom and recitation already. So like all of these are off cooldown. I just used Succor, and there's incredible damage. And I already used emergency tactics Succor. It's like when I'm in that position, it's very hard for me to recover from. I'm put in a position where I'm like, I could spam Succor and like hope that the other healer like picks me up, but it's a very helpless situation. And honestly, it's kind of like Divine Benison for White Mage the Shield. I don't know if emergency tactics is gonna make it into next expansion anymore. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. So give me your thoughts on that.
Well, so White Mage is actually my favorite healer. I love playing White Mage. I love the fact that I have access to, such significant healing all the time. So if anyone makes any sort of mistake, I don't really have to be worried about predicting whether or not that damage is going to come out. If it happens, I can just press my, oh crap button and save the party, and that is incredibly rewarding.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I like having you as like the backup because if something goes wrong, I can relate to that a lot.
And honestly, playing with a scholar is paired very well with the White Mage because I think they complement each other very well.
Oh, it always has been
Like,
because
they're
they're
just
preemptive
different.
with that.
Yeah,
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
like having a
very.
favorite healer, I think more just comes down to playstyle. I think saying what the best healer is that's almost like an exercise in futility. It's more just like what
Well, it's just like our
complement
last video is it's
other
just like
healers
who's
well.
the worst? It's like people say
Yeah,
scholar, and meanwhile I will absolutely say no because the scholar has an answer for everything until they run out of gas. But to run out of gas, you must be mismanaging cooldowns, multiple
yeah,
bad things.
yeah. I honestly think it doesn't really even matter. Like unless you're trying to be like the world first, best raid team in the world, then maybe you might want to think about it. But just for 99.99% of people that play this game, as long as your group has two different healers, I mean,
Like scholars are
you're good
clearing
to go.
12s just fine.
Yeah,
Like
you
that
could
is
even
not
have
an
like
issue.
two together, but that are the same. But
Ew,
I'd
that's
rather have two people
painful.
that are different.
Yeah, not many savage groups are doing that. Like you can, but oof,
Like you
painful.
could, but like I'd say for most people, as long as you have two healers that are different, so like a white mage and a scholar, or a white mage and an astrologian, or an astrologian and a scholar, then that's gonna be fine.
So I'm gonna try and wrap up this video really quickly here, but I just wanted a side note about, and we're gonna kind of mix the topics, which is like World of Warcraft healers and what we want for next expansion. So basically, with World of Warcraft, I tried it, and I went in there with the goal of learning new healers, learning new content, getting a better basis, because so many players come into Final Fantasy XIV from World of Warcraft, and I wanted to understand their viewpoint better, and so I took the plunge and went for it. My experience on is mostly on Discipline Priest, and so that was very similar to Scholar, and I absolutely have to say that I liked Discipline Priest. I found it very engaging. I thought that it could use more. I found it very basic at times, but what I did like was I liked having Schism. I took all the talents of like the different abilities, and so basically like I could apply like a damage amp to them. Then I would apply atonement to my party. Then I would apply the dot. Then I would spam smite, or I would go in and there was this other ability. It was like a ray of light. It was like an off global cooldown while moving damage ability. It was a talent I took. I very much liked that. But even with that, I found like it wasn't as much of a DPS toolkit as I wanted. And so it's just like, even when I'm leaning into World of Warcraft, I still find myself wanting more of a rotation. I think that what Scholar had during A Realm Reborn was very special, very unique, and very, very important. I think that in terms of what I want next expansion is, I mean, we don't know the Sage toolkit yet, but I think what I absolutely want is just Scholar to return to its old roots. I want what we have now, but I want just more complexity. I want to think more about my DPS rotation because, especially as a Scholar, we offset so much onto the fairy. Like even right now, like I am spamming fairy skills. Like this is me offloading onto the fairy all of this work, and then even targeting him like that. That has always been one of the strengths of the Scholar, is offloading work onto the fairy, and it's still a thing. Which to me, when I'm not doing content with extremely brutal healing, makes me into a broil bot, which is extremely boring. So that's me at least. So I mean, even Disc Priest didn't do it for me. So that's kind of my hopes for that. And my hopes is also that Sage is also more active. That's my hope. I'm hoping that Sage is much more than just like a 1-2 bot. Like I cannot take this. So what about you?
Okay, so yeah, no, I've been playing World of Warcraft probably since 2004. I've taken breaks on and off, and just recently I took a little break here because I was not a huge fan of the most recent expansion. But I played Resto Druid, for many years, and my experience comes from that. It's I would say there's nothing really like it in Final Fantasy because
No,
it's
not at
basically just a
all.
healer that puts out a bunch of heal over time effects and heals that way. So it's like preemptive. So in that way, it's kind of like a Scholar, but it's not barrier. It's just like direct healing. So
Yeah, it's something
it's
like
very
pre-hotting, like Whispering Dawn.
yeah, exactly. So it'd be like if you just had a bunch of different like regen spells, basically. That would be
Quick, apply
a
regen to me. We'll simulate it.
yes,
Medicatu and
exactly.
regen.
It was funny actually when I first started playing. I was used to pre-hotting from WoW, so I would just put regen on everyone in the group, and it kind of worked, but it wasn't the most efficient thing.
Oh, I could use
Anyhow.
so too.
Yeah. So anyhow, my point is, coming from that background, one thing I really enjoyed was like there's something called like cat weaving, or like balance weaving. So what that was
It is
like
so
you would
good.
change into like a different form, in a dungeon. Like so you turn into like a cat, and then you could go and do damage to a pack just using like your feral form abilities. Or you would, if you're balance weaving, you would turn into like a boomkin, which is like this chicken thing that casts like range damage spells, and you could use that to do damage. And that was really fun. Like you could do significant DPS, as those like other forms when and your group would basically just be kept alive by all the heal over time effects that you put on them before you go into the DPS mode. So that was something that was really interesting and engaging, and I liked playing that. So now coming to White Mage, my DPS rotation is a single button. I don't really find that to be the most engaging. I love the healing. I love the throughput that I bring to a group. But for the next expansion, I think it'd be really cool if they gave us, just I don't really know how they would do it, but just something else, like another dot or something that would just make the DPS rotation feel a little bit more engaging. So it's just more than the 2 buttons.
And see, the White Mage never had that much complexity to it, but it did have 2 rotating dots that you could use for maximum efficiency. Not all White Mages used the second dot, but they did used to do that. It was like, what, Arrow 1, or no, Arrow 1 turned into Arrow 2, which the Arrow 3 was the AoE? It was something like that. But yeah, I gotta agree, like, Druid weaving, cat weaving especially, like, that might actually be the one healer that I loved the most, actually. I mean, Discipline Priest was interesting, but Resto Druid with like the cat weaving, like you didn't really go into all the details. Like you would literally build up a builder spender bar, like, and you would literally blow it on explosive cooldowns in that, while also maintaining like 4 different dots. You had Sunfire, you had Moonfire, you had, wait, was it 3 dots? No, there was a 4th, right?
Oh, well, you have Sunfire, you have Moonfire, you also have all your bleeds that you can put out, and there's 2 different bleeds that you have access to in that form.
Yeah, so 4 of them.
I think one of them is Rip, and the other one is
Rend or something?
I think it's Break.
Ah. Yeah, because you had the basic one, then you had the one that was like powered up by combo.
Don't
so
quote
good.
that. I'd have to look it up, but there are 2 different dots that you have access to when you're in like Feral Affinity as a wrestling mode.
Honestly,
So
such a good class.
You could have 4 dots on a
Such
boss.
a good class. Also, you had a burst combo, like a finisher. It was... Oh, Arrested Druid was actually one of the most fun I've had with healers.
Yeah, you save up your combo points and you could Ferocious Bite. Those are even fun in like Arena. You could basically like kill people with that.
I saw you do that with me months and months ago. It's
yeah, it
funny.
Was great.
God. That was actually a well-designed healer. I gotta say, like, I liked that through and through. Although they nerfed it, and so it's not as good in Mythic Plus. They might have buffed it recently, but my god.
I think it's still okay, but yeah, no, I definitely have. I don't know. I played too much World of Warcraft. I played that game since 2004, and there's only so much vanilla ice cream you have before you get sick of it. And you have to try another flavor, right?
Rocky Road. Pizza
Exactly.
ice cream.
Oh, Pete, that sounds vile.
It sounds amazing.
Think of the heartburn, fucking tomato sauce and ice cream. Anyhow.
I will not have any. I don't think I've ever really had heartburn. I'm so lucky.
Yeah, you are. It sucks.
Pizza ice cream. Yes. My god. So, I guess, like, in conclusion, like, I mean, fun is subjective. I'm gonna just give my own tier list. Maybe you can give yours. But, I mean, in terms of most fun, looking at the entire kit as a cohesive whole, Scholar's #1. Absolutely. Because of the healing toolkit. The healing toolkit is so engaging, so fun, offsetting stuff onto the fairy. I love it. Plain and simple as that. Love it. Followed by Ast, and then White Mage. And it's funny that Scholar's my #1 because its DPS toolkit is my most resented. I am so... I don't like using that word because it's so strong, but I am actually slightly resentful for how bad the DPS kit has fallen from A Realm Reborn for Scholar. I do not like it, but it is still my #1 just because of the healing toolkit. How about for you?
I love White Mage. I think that the reactive healing that it brings is incredibly strong, and there's just something amazing about being able to, when someone messes up and they're like 10% life, to be like, oh crap, benediction, they're saved. I love that. So I don't know. I'm always gonna love my White Mage.
Oh yeah. What about Aston Scolaire?
Well, both of them are great. They just bring different things to the table, like we discussed, and
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Like I think I'm just rating them based on my personal preference and like what I enjoy playing. I do think everyone should even try all three. It's so easy in Final Fantasy to try different things, right? Because you basically all your gear is like once you have one healer gear, the gear is transferable to all of them. So you just need to change your weapon. So
Mm-hmm. I'm curious to see if next
I'd
expansion
recommend
you go
everybody
and do
just tries
Ast.
everyone.
You what?
Sees what they like. I'd recommend that everybody just tries all three and picks something that that has gameplay they enjoy and just goes
Yeah,
based
I
on that.
fully agree with that.
They're all good and it's so subjective.
Yeah, and that's why that's why this video was complicated, because it's just like people, like, if I think, how to say it, I think that I would actually get flamed if I just went and I said Scholar's my favorite healer. Because it's like, people have heard me many, many times criticize the kit, and absolutely the DPS kit I will criticize, but the healing kit and the offloading onto Fairy, dude, that's always been my jam. And that's why it's my favorite, so it's like, it's long, but definitely I think worth it. And I think it was worth exploring too, because I think like it indicates some patterns in design and like what is really good. Like the White Mage's Lily Gauge with the massive afflatus misery is, that's incredible.
No, exactly. And like honestly, I feel like here we could even just bring up like one of the comments that one of our
Oh no,
watchers.
is that what you were doing in the background, was reading comments?
Well, no, I just wanted to bring this one up because I thought it was just very relevant to what we've been
Okay.
saying. And so he says many MMO players fall into this trap where they, I'm just paraphrasing here, where they ask what's the best at blank. What does the most DPS? What should everyone play? And then he says, are we playing a video game or a numbers simulator? So I mean, like honestly, you should just pick what you like.
And I agree with that fully. It's just like, sorry.
Because more or less, like most things can clear the content. That's what he's saying. So
And I
you
agree
should
with
just
that
play what you
fully.
like. That's the end of it.
With 14, everything is so much more balanced. Like I think that this is actually the fear, is because a lot of players come from World of Warcraft, and now experiencing it myself, the difference between something like a fire mage versus like a beastmaster hunter, like this particular patch, like it's incredible. You will struggle to get into groups with the beastmaster, whereas a fire mage, people will literally lick your boots. It is incredible, the difference. And that's not even just the numbers. The numbers are staggeringly different. But it's like, I think people come from that game and then they come to Final Fantasy XIV and they are so worried about experiencing that. And I mean, there are some toxic groups that are very, very much like, oh, Scholar's doing 500 less DPS, raid DPS than Astrologian, so we need to have an Astrologian. And it's like, 500 DPS is significant, I will not say it's not, but if you can get a Scholar who's comfortable on it, that will outperform someone who's not comfortable on Ast every single time. Likewise, the inverse is true. If you get someone comfortable on Ast and you want a Scholar, I mean, Heavensward, Ast was considered weak. It was not meta until fairly after the buffs. Then it became meta. But it's like, if the inverse is absolutely true too. Recording. Sorry, my recording just went off again. But yeah.
Oh no, you go out of space.
No, I'm fine. I just started recording again. My goodness, this is
So maybe
this is cursed video.
We should just quote the great Asmongold and say, the Feral Druid, he may not be doing the most DPS, but he's your Feral Druid. Keep him around.
Are you really saying this in the stupid chicken
he's your
soup?
friend. Yes.
I'm judging you so hard right now.
Why?
Because it's in the chicken suit.
What's wrong with the chicken suit?
Everything. It's
You
funny.
like it? Like my big golden booty? Okay.
No, it's very dumpy.
It is.
It is terrible. Oh god.
I'm just doing it for like the internet points. I think people will like it. The random dancing chicken reading at comments.
Oh my god. Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
It's gonna drive up viewership. You just watch.
I am terrified at a level that I don't know how to explain. But
What
yeah.
you mean terrified?
Oh my god, the chicken.
What's
Roasted.
wrong with it? It's fine.
Roasted. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything else to say? I think that I'm spent. I think that I have explained fun on healers and my opinions like into the
Do
ground.
do you want to close it?
Yeah, unless you had something else.
Wait, are you recording now?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I was
Thought
recording that
about
entire time.
Gold joke. Maybe we can cut that. I don't know. But
What?
yeah, anyhow.
No, I'm still recording. What? No, why would we?
Yeah.
How dare you ruin my podcast by cutting out the funny? How dare
We
you?
mentioned it last time. I wonder if it might be dry. It is hilarious though. It's like, well,
I mean, it's
you
funny.
might not like you have a white mage in a giant chicken suit. He doesn't bring DPS buffs, but you know what? He's your weird chicken guy. You keep him.
Oh yeah, and personal DPS of white mage is so good. But
He brings
man,
benediction.
oh, eggs Benedict with the chicken.
Absolutely.
Goodness.
But yeah, maybe we can just end it just by saying, you know what? Play what you like. Have fun. Healing is fun if that's your thing. It's my thing. I love it.
It's also
No, cool,
super
love it.
subjective. Like, it's like I'm thinking about like how can I quantify fun? It's just like I can't. Different people value different things. I can't do it. But those are my opinions, and those are Namet's opinions. I mean, he is very much a white mage purist. Minus the chicken
When I
suit.
started playing, when I first started, playing, and I was like, I'm gonna play a white mage at a high level, and I did it, and I enjoy it. So that's what it is.
I'm gonna need to go Sage to make up for it. It's just like me when I saw Sage, I'm just like, this thing, I like this thing. It's just like, the kit will have to be so bad for me to not enjoy it.
Let's hope it's not hot garbage.
God, I'm hoping. Please don't have another
Sure, it'll
ass
be
release.
okay though.
It'll be okay.
They wouldn't do that again, would they? They've learned. I'm sure.
I don't know. I mean, Dancer released and it was fine. It needed a little bit of buffing, but it was fine. Gunbreaker released just fine. People didn't like Gunbreaker at first, but I loved Gunbreaker at first. It was so fun.
I mean, you got a giant gunblade. It's
It is so cool. It is so cool, and the rotation's so fun. But anyhow, we should close off the video, though.
Yeah, let's end it off. Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. That's our opinion on healers.
Thank you so much for tuning in, seriously. Seriously. Listening to our silliness.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Like and subscribe to the channel.
yeah, launch a Scholar Fairy at that like button, and chicken suit cat daddy, that subscribe button. I'm just like, how can I make this even more stupid? And I'm like, yes, this is how to make it even more stupid. But yeah, Sage 6.0 hype. Oh yeah, and leave comments saying how you want us to improve the podcast. But yeah, anyhow, take care and be safe, everyone. Do you have any final words?
Play what you like. Peace out, guys.
See you.